Well, so ladies and gentlemen, once again, we have another interview and we have Sister Antoinette here. Now, she messaged me on the Phillip Scott Show Facebook page and she wanted to have a conversation. And this is open to, a lot of ladies that say that they agree with me or disagree with me. You can send me a message in the DM on Facebook. And if you'd like to come speak to me, you're welcome to do so. We'll set up a time. So Antoinette, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I feel very excited to be here.
All right, Antoinette, like I said, you wanted to have a conversation, and we definitely going to get into that for sure. But, just tell people just a little bit about your background, because I looked into some research on you, and that's why we got the Liberian flag back there, as well. Shout out to Liberia. That's my brothers and sisters over there. But, just tell people about you a little bit, and we're going to get further into it.
Okay, well, I'm in my later 30s. I'm 37, and I live here in Texas. He did mention Liberia, and I like to represent it. My mother is from Liberia, and she moved to the U.S. Back probably in the 1980s before I was born. She had 2 daughters, and then she met my dad in Texas sometime later and had me somewhere in the mid-80s. And so I grew up in a very multi-ethnic home. Where my mother represented definitely her culture, her food, music, and all that. But then I had a East Texas father, and I grew up in a coastal city in Texas. So
okay, you said coastal cities. You say Southeast Texas?
So my dad was he was born in East Texas, and then he was raised in a coastal city here in Texas. And so my mother met him there. And then they had me and my 2 younger sisters.
Okay. Well, see, I'm originally from Port Arthur.
Uh-huh.
Port Arthur, Texas. So that's Southeast Texas. So he's more so east like those more other south. Cities.
Yeah,
for the south?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. All right, Antoinette. So, you wanted to have this conversation. And let's lead off. What is the first thing you really want to talk with you? Could you kind of mention some things before we got started? But let's go on the first topic you want to speak about. Here, we'll let you go ahead and lean into that.
Okay. I think it's a careful thing when we're talking about the Black community, and when we're talking about the Black community, we can talk about maybe in our city, that Black community. We can talk about the US and look at the Black community in that way. Or what I love about your channel, and that's why I've watched it so long, is that we can talk about the diaspora, us being a global family. And I think there are some specific traumas that we have been through as a people. I mean, would you agree? Like we can go from Australia, we can go to parts of Southeast Asia, we can look throughout Africa, we can look from Canada all the way down south, and we can look and see we've been treated a little differently compared to other people globally. Right?
Yeah, a little bit.
So when I go anywhere, doesn't matter where I go, I always look and I'm like, that's a family member there. Even though we're the human family, I'm like, me and that brother have something in common. Me and that sister, we have something in common. We have a unique history in this world. And so when I think of us as a global family, I think there's no one really above another person. Like I don't look at Black men as this lower or Black women. I really look at us all together as a group that really needs to respect and honor and really heal, if that makes any sense, hopefully, right? Yes. So sometimes when I go online, like for me, I like to like research Black history. I like to like learn more about what's going on in our culture and all that. And I'm seeing all this gender war stuff. And it's kind of discouraging for me because I'm a woman that's 37. I don't have any kids. I want to be married. I want to settle down. I want to be in that situation. So when I see things about like Black women and like the anger towards Black women, it hurts my heart. Like it really makes me sad because I'm like, we're not a monolith. Like there are so many different kinds of people, Black people, women, culturally. And so when I see these particular videos that are kind of grouping all of us and saying like, oh, you know, these Black women out here, that's why I'm leaving the US and I'm a passport bro, I'm going over here. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of like, but what about us? Like, what about the women who, and I don't want to be like a Pickme because I'm not.
Wait. I'm going to stop you right there.
Because
it is nothing wrong for you. Earlier, you just said that you wanted to be picked. You just said it.
What do you
So
mean by
why did you feel I don't, but I'm not a pick me. Why did you do that?
Because I think and again, like, do I care about what people really think like that? But what I mean is there's these labels that get thrown at people, right? I'm not saying you're saying that.
Antoinette, what is wrong, Antoinette? See, this is the battle. Antoinette, listen.
Wrong with that.
Listen, Antoinette, this is the battle that a lot of sisters deal with. You literally fear the sisterhood because that pick me term comes from the sisterhood. It don't come from the men because the men, if you're looking to be picked, every woman you see is married right now. She was put in a position of a quote unquote pick me, and that's why she got picked. Like, so you want to marry a man or a woman?
Okay. Like I said, I do want to marry a man.
Oh, okay.
I want to settle down.
Okay.
Okay. I want to have a family. I want to ride off into the sunset with that.
Okay. Right. Beautiful thing that you want. So would you care more about what men think or what women think about you?
I care about what I think.
You should. But in the area when it comes to being picked by a man, do you care about what men think about you or women think?
I date men. So that's I don't know what you mean by care.
Okay. So when you mention the term pick me, and that term pick me is not a term that was used by men to denigrate women who care about men, who want to be a wife, who want to be submissive, who want to live their soft girl life, who want to embrace their femininity. The man does what he's supposed to do in the traditional sense, protect, provide, etc. Right? So men, I have not heard one man demonize a woman that wants that and wants to be picked, except a certain group, not all, a certain group of women who I think got mental dysfunction that says it's wrong to be that way, to be picked.
Okay.
And it seems from what I've observed over the years, it seems like it's a lot of pressure. Let's say I'm gonna use you. It's a lot of pressure on you to make sure that you still self-identify a little bit with this girl code thing that I see. Because in our community, we're gonna talk about Black today. In the Black community, what I've noticed with the ladies is that y'all can't even call out the dysfunctional behavior with other women lest you be attacked for it viciously. It's like either you be quiet about it or talk about it silently, or you just go along with it and support it. And what you're giving me and what I'm hearing from you and just your spirit, how you coming across to me, I really believe you are a good person. So I'm pretty good judge of character for the most part. I haven't been wrong too many years. So why do you, the thing is it that important to women that they get along with all the women, or is it okay to set yourself apart? Like what is it? I'm asking that question to you.
Yeah, so I'm an individual. I don't know about everybody else. I don't know about like how other people view whatever. All I'm talking about is what I see online. And I did jokingly say pick me, but actually I don't even really know the history of that word or whatever. So let me just move on. So anyway, I would really like to kind of just focus on what's being actually really said. Or I forgot what I was saying, Phil. Like, I feel like we were talking and I'm like, well, what? Like I was saying something and then we got on the pick me thing.
Yeah, as I told you before, I'll let you talk, but I'm a listener. Well, you mentioned that you were 37 years old, had no children, and you want to be married. You want to ride off into the sunset, and then you say, "But I'm not a pick me." So then I stopped right there and I homed in on that term.
Okay.
Okay. So now you're mentioning about the banter online. So you mentioned earlier.
Yes, the banter online. Yes.
Okay. So you mentioned that it makes you feel a certain way when you hear some of the commentary from the men. How does it make you feel personally? Not what other people say online, how you feel personally when you hear it.
Oh man, it's hurtful. It is very painful. I try not to take it personal though, because at the end of the day, I'm working, I'm taking care of myself. I feel like I have healthy friends, all that. But I also, at the very same time, don't like to see that type of that kind of representation online, because we're not only seeing that and kind of stirring up the trauma. Other cultures are seeing that, and all the stigma and all the abuse that we're already kind of experiencing in this earth, right? It's like kind of stirring the pot. It's kind of causing more problems. So,
okay, so give me an example of something that was said that really hurt your feelings. Give me an example.
One thing that I don't like is that all Black women are grouped into one section, or the way that and I would say this too, like vice versa, right? Like, I don't think all Black men should be grouped into one space. Everyone is different. And really, are we a team when it comes to men, women working together and being a team in our community? So when I hear kind of that whole like grouping of all of us, then it really makes me feel some type of way. Or even if somebody is saying something negative about groups of women, right? Because there is a such thing as trauma and trauma reactions and responses and all that. Why, as far as Black men being leaders of their community, right? Why isn't there more organized effort to address the issues at hand, right? So say I'm complaining about something, but what am I doing to actually change what's happening? What am I doing historically to actually help lead, And we know there's systematic things that have prevented those particular things happening, right? So when I notice that, I'm like, okay, people are talking all this, but what are they doing about it? Where is the leadership in the community to help change that?
Okay. So do you think that if the majority of Black men say something, will the women do what they say?
I don't know if many of us at this point in time have that trust in each other to be in that space. My hope is that if there's like solid leadership, if there is kind of men coming together and women coming together and saying, like, we need to make change, that could have a ripple effect. So yes, I think so.
So
But I
basically,
don't know if we have that trust in the community.
okay, so basically you just said that no matter what men say, we can't just say, hey, do X, Y, and Z, and the women be like, okay, let me go and follow that leadership. So basically what you're saying is nothing the men is saying is going to change the current situation, correct?
What I'm saying is that I don't know if we're at a level of trust in each other yet, or at a level of healing at this point where that can happen. Because I don't even know.
I hear you. I hear you 100%. But that's where the rubber meets the road. What you just said is that no, nothing you saying is going to make this current group of women change unless basically they want to. So when you ask about what the men are going to do or what solutions are put in place, well, the men can provide solutions all day, but you got to take the solution.
Okay.
It's like medicine. If you don't take it, how would it heal your disease?
Okay. Then help me, Phil, please. What medicine collectively are Black men presenting to the community? Not just women, but boys, girls, community, infrastructure, all that stuff. What is happening that we're not listening to, Black women?
Well, first and foremost, it starts in your families. Let's start there. Random Black men on the street should not be the ones that have to affect you. It should be your father. It should be your brothers. It should be your cousins. It should be your uncles. The local community is always first. Then it spreads out to the greater community, your states, the nation, etc. So what we have to look at is the men around in the local communities. I'm talking about in your individual families. That's first, right? So I'm gonna use myself for example. I have the greatest influence over my daughters, my son, my wife, my cousins, everybody that I'm around, right? Friends. I have a greater influence with them versus someone online. People that have access to me would listen to me just a little bit more, and maybe someone online will listen to me, right? Even though a lot of people do listen, and they may change some things based off of what they see that I'm saying, because they just kind of resonate with it. But it starts at home first. Now you say, well, what are black men doing? There are black men that's doing some great things every single day. Black men are creating their own companies. Black men are hiring people within the community. I can use myself, for example. I have more black women on my team than I have black men. In the United States, Africa, and all kind of other places. Well, I have black people working with me, male and female, right? And I'm just one black man. There are several black men who are creating jobs in the communities. There are black men who get in the streets every day, either fighting against injustice, or they're trying to do things for education of our children, trying to stop the human trafficking. There's people every day, but they're not highlighted. And let's call it what it is. Most people don't even want to see it, because I have highlighted, not on this particular channel, the Phillip Scott Show, but I've highlighted on my main news channel, African Diaspora, great things that black men and women have done. And let's call it what it is. The majority of people don't want to see it. So when you don't really want to watch it, of course, you're not going to watch it. And what are we going to do about it? You don't know unless you get out there and see what people are doing. But there are men and women in our community who are doing great things. Now, in relation to what you're talking about, you say, well, we're calling out. We're calling out the degenerate behavior that we're seeing that's harming Black American women, harming them. Even globally is harming them with certain images. So do you feel a camaraderie with a degenerate or a hood rat? Do you feel camaraderie with them?
I don't like referring to, I would never go to a black woman and call them a hood rat. That's not my place to do that, or to call them a, what do you call it? What is it?
304?
304. That's not my place to call a woman who I don't know her traumas. I don't know what she's been through. I don't know if her daddy was there. I don't know if her community. That's not my place to call a black woman who is my sister that term. And that's what bothers me. You asked that question. That's what bothers me. King-like behavior is not calling women out their name. And in fact, in the music industry, that's been put out there. So I think, I get that black men feel a disappointment when they look at the women that were born in the 90s or whatever years, and they're looking at them and saying, look at our daughters. I don't even know if they're calling them their daughters. They're calling them a whole bunch of other names, female dogs and all that, but they're not looking back at the music and the industry that called our daughters that for so long. And I didn't see the men that you're talking about that were in the households standing against that and saying, wait a minute, this representation, even whoever owns these media companies, we do not want our daughters or our women to be represented in this way.
I'll name one man.
Women are walking around and they're like, yeah, I am a bitch. I am a hoe.
I'll name one man in particular. Minister Louis Farrakhan had the biggest Million Man March in 1995. He's just one of many. I can go down a list of brothers
and I'm so grateful for him. Seriously.
So what I'm saying, okay, let me ask you a question. Then, so when you got guys who are in gangs, and we say, man, Pookie and Ray are these thugs out here, harming the community, this and that and the third, and we calling them thugs, that's exactly what they're doing. Is that okay?
I don't think that's okay either. I think
so basically I should label all black men, they just my brother, but he's out here killing black people, black women, black men, black children. He's just shooting it up. He's dealing poison to our communities and ruining things, but he should still be viewed as my brother.
I think
he shouldn't be set apart as what he really is at the time. If he's thugging it out, then that's what he's doing. So I should just put him in the same category as black men out here who are family men, who are going to work every day, not committing no crimes, loving their wives, loving their girlfriends, loving their children, whatever they may have. I should put them in the same category. Is that what you're telling me?
I think that there's a way of telling truth and calling things out. But if we, as the brothers and sisters of them, call them bitch, call them hoe, call them that, then what do we have left? I think there's a way of being straight up about something and calling it out and saying this is not okay, but you're better than this. Or, hey, there's a way of healing through this, right? I think we need to be careful about how we present ourselves, because nobody else is going to save us. If nobody's going to be in our community and we're going to be the ones, then I think, so like in social work, when I'm speaking with the client, right? So like a lot of people, when they've been through particular traumas or they've been through painful events or whatever, they'll refer to themselves certain ways. So like somebody may say, I'm a no good father, or I'm a worthless this, or I'm a worthless that, or they tear themselves down. So as a social worker, part of what I need to do is to say, hey, if there's something that is happening that you're not proud of in your life, or you're angry or hurt about in your life, that's okay. But there's a way of speaking to yourself with compassion, understanding, love. I didn't say sugarcoat, right? I didn't say minimize the issue. Okay, because these people are already experiencing a lot of stigma already. I don't know, like as a people, we've been stigmatized, right? We've been abused. And I think there's just a way of going in. I'm not going to ever call a sister those names. I'm not going to call a brother those names because I don't even know them like that. I think that's actually a major part of our problem is that we're co-signing on the abuse.
So you're saying
abuse.
Okay, Antoinette. So you're saying identifying behavior that's clearly being done, that's more of a problem than their behavior in the community?
Wait, repeat that.
Identifying and calling out the behavior that they're doing that's destructive to the community. You feel that that's worse than actually addressing what they're doing to the community. That's worse, right? So calling it out is worse than what they're doing to the community.
I think that it can all be called out. What's happening or being done in the community, what people are doing, but I think there's a way of doing it. I would never go to a sister or brother of mine and call them out of their name. I think there's a way of calling things out, but not going into that space. I don't think that's helpful or productive.
So okay. Okay. So if you talk to how would you talk? Give me an example. How would you talk to well, it's a little different. You're a woman, you're gonna come across a little different with a man on certain things. But how would you talk to a guy that's out here that's actively shooting and killing people? He got cases, right? He's dealing fentanyl and everything else in the Black community. People are passing away. How would you address that behavior, especially when they at a position where they've become so degenerate in their mind that that's normal for them? They don't care about nobody. How do you shake them out of that? Mm-hmm. How are you going to do that?
Are you saying if this is a family member, if I'm their social
worker? No. I'm talking about if you say you social work, right? Mm-hmm. That's what you do. So how would you approach that? Because me as a man, I understand that sometimes you have to grab people by the shoulder, not literally, but grab them by the shoulder and say, "Look, this is what you are doing. You need to stop." And you got to smack them in the face in the process to get their attention. You do it, but okay, now I'm telling you, now let's help you get on the straight and narrow. But of course, they got to want to at the same time.
You said it. In social work, we're not sugarcoat. The thing with social work is that people think we're like sugar cookies and come on, everyone, let's hold hands. That is not what social work is. And you're right. It's what stage of change is that person in? Are they in pre-contemplation? I don't see the problem. Are they in contemplation? I see the problem, but I'm gonna keep doing me anyway. Am I in preparation for change? Right? Do I want to see change? Because I've heard you say this before. We can't save everybody.
We can't.
What was the percentage you said before? You said
what I said before, and I say it again. Only a third to be saved.
And perhaps that's the truth. Perhaps that is the truth. And it's a sad truth, right? Because I think we have been traumatized so much as a people that many of us, we are in the twilight zone. We're out there. We're in the outer limits. But I think even with that, we need to be mindful about how we talk about each other and how we present each other. I think for Black men, I can't speak for you all because I'm not, right? And even as a Black woman, my experience is different. But I would say that we need to be mindful about how we talk about each other on this earth, because the only people who are going to save each other is us, in my opinion. So.
Well, Antoinette, let me use myself for example, because sometimes it's easy to talk about other people, right? So for me, I'm the type of person that I will not make a change unless I'm given a swift kick in the butt, right? Mm-hmm. And when I get a swift kick in the butt, it could be kicking myself in the butt, it could be my wife, it could be my family, whoever, right? They can say, "Hey, look, Phil, you need to change X, Y, and Z, and this is why." And go in on me about what I'm doing. that's what's going to get my attention. Now, some people you can say, oh, well, do this. You know, you can be very soft with them and love on them and all that. And maybe they'll change. But I understand one thing about black folk. What I understand, we are hard headed and stiff necked. And we are. And I understand a swift kick in the butt works with us a little bit more than that. Oh, well, you know, because we too hard headed. Just call it what it is. We are hard headed. So now let's talk about, you mentioned about the women aspect, right? If you don't identify that behavior and what they're doing, you understand they're affecting black women globally in what they're doing. And that's a problem. When I talked about the Mina Castle, remember when they did that on top of Mina Castle, slave dungeon in Ghana? Okay. The reason why I said Mina Castle hood rats, let me tell you why I'm doing it. One, I'm identifying behavior. Two, I want to make a separation. Because earlier you said you don't like when brothers come online and just say black women this, black women that. So in order to not say black women, you must separate based on behavior and say, listen, this is what these are doing, not black women. And I purposely make sure not to do that. I'll say modern woman, I'll say whatever, but I don't want to make a blanket statement like that. Black women, I don't want to make a blanket statement about black men. I want to identify the behavior that we having a problem with and say, okay, those individuals are the ones that's doing it. You understand what I'm saying? And I don't think you or no other woman should be feeling, well, I don't like when they say it like that. Are you doing it? Are you? Oh, no, obviously you're not. So you would not want to be associated with that. Because understand, if women like you have that mindset, and which a lot of them have, then when the men start talking, then they start categorizing you all in one deal. And you said you don't like that, correct?
I don't. Two things I said. I don't think any of us should be calling anyone out their name. But I also said that I don't want to be, because the thing is, we're not separated. What I hate saying it that way, because I'm like, I don't really feel like I'm above anybody, right? But
you are, Antoinette. You are above. You are above a lot. You're above a lot. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with saying that I am above that behavior. I'm above her because I'm not doing that. She chose that, just like I chose this. If you're not arrogant of saying I'm above that, you are above that. You are not equal to that. I'm not equal to no man that's doing some crap like that. I'm not equal to Pookie and Ray Ray just he's a black man like me. I'm not.
I get what you're saying. I made a lot of different decisions, but I am blessed. You know, I made a lot of different decisions for sure, but I think we need to be careful about how we talk about each other. I can't say why they went and twerked over there. Personally, I wouldn't have. I think to me that was a setting that was not appropriate.
Yes, you know? Because Antoinette is a respectful woman. Antoinette would say, you know what? I don't want to embarrass myself. I don't want to embarrass my family. I don't even want to embarrass my community. I don't even want to embarrass black women globally, because these global images that go out, people already got a mindset about black American women based on the images.
Can I ask you a question? So calling women hoes, or I don't know what language I can use.
I'll say 304s. That's what that means.
304s, calling them female dogs or whatever.
I don't use that terminology, so go ahead.
Okay, yeah, and I haven't heard you say that, but like, how has that helped change the behavior?
I'm not trying to change their behavior. I'm trying to save the young women.
I'm telling you, as a woman, as a black woman who's already been stigmatized in this world, who've been treated all type of ways by different ethnicities, even my own black men that I still love, right? Because the thing is, I do believe black men have been through particular traumas and particular painful events, and I would say for women, we've been through, and I still don't be using language in group, because I feel like when I hear that, I don't hear a separation. I hear stigma against me as a woman. I feel like there is a grouping. I don't think I'm taking it too personal. When I talk to other women,
you actually are, because are you a 304?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so why do you feel grouped into that? When somebody talking about Pookie and Ray Ray, some dude out here shooting up the block, I don't feel like, oh my God, they're talking about me. They're not talking about me, because I'm not doing that. Now, if they were talking, now if I was doing that behavior with them and they're talking about it, then I'll feel some sort of way because I'm doing it. You understand?
So let me ask you about your videos when you're encouraging Black men to be, I guess, the passport bros, right? To go to different parts of the world, find a wife. There's nothing here in the U.S. Whatever. I'm sitting here. I'm like, well, what about me? What about
Glad you brought that up. So that's give the whole spiel. I said that if you cannot, if you cannot find you a good woman, traditional woman here in America, if you cannot, a lot of times it's hard because of the culture in America. A lot of you said basically several times that you literally have, you didn't say it, but I'm hearing it. You have a pressure put on you and you're not even engaged in this behavior, right? But usually women like what you're discussing don't stay on the dating market long. Men get them like that. And men know that. They know it. So I said in my videos, if you are not that way, you're a traditional woman, you're a good woman, you want family, you want everything that we should have, right? Stand up, be loud and proud and say, hey, I am here. I want to be picked. And that's it. And trust me, get with a good man. He would do that. But you have to understand, a lot of times I say this in my videos too, the women, they copy each other so much, you don't know the difference. You have the trans woman and this modern woman literally having the same makeup. Like, I'm looking at you, you're not made up like a trans woman. So you look, to me, you look different, right? So that's what I'm talking about. Stand out, make a difference. But I said, if they cannot, for whatever the reason, get a woman, then they should expand their options to globally. And globally doesn't mean one particular country, because let's say if a brother, he want a black woman, he don't want nothing else. He can go to the Caribbean, get a black woman. He can go to the African continent, get a black woman. He can go to Latin America to get a black woman, or if he wants whatever he wants, he can whatever, right? So just because a man's traveling doesn't mean he may not even be with a sister. Because I know some passport bros, they went to Sierra Leone, brothers that's in Kenya, brothers in South Africa, some in Ghana, some in Colombia. They in different places, some of them, right? So why do you feel that it's a bother to you personally when you said that you're in a position where you looking for a husband? Like why is that slighting you?
I just find it hurtful. I don't feel like it's and maybe it's more of like kind of an internalized like emotional response.
There it is. There it is right there. Internalized emotional response.
Along with, I just don't think it's king-like behavior to be calling women of the community out their name. I think it's king-like behavior to call.
Wait, sister. I got your opinion on that. Let's get back to that emotional response. Why are you having that emotional response? Why?
You know, I didn't tell you how I grew up, right? I didn't tell you anything about that. I don't think we got into that. So
no. You just kind of preliminary a little bit, but I just want to know why that emotional response, because it's something personal.
I grew up with a few traumas that involve Black men. Growing up, I wasn't treated very nice in the community, in the multi-ethnic community that I grew up in. And it was very painful. And then I ended up going to HBCU, and my horizon and all that stuff expanded. And I was like, wow, you know, I'm excited about this experience because, and that's why I was talking about the whole monolith, right? When I went to the HBCU that I went to, I saw kids on like people on skateboards. I saw people riding horses. I saw people listen to different kinds of music. I met Black people internationally from around the world. And I think that was very helpful for me. And it helped heal the kind of childhood traumas that I had been through when it comes to the community and all that. And I've carried that with me throughout the rest of my life, that beautiful impact that the HBCU had. So I think, but growing up, it was a lot of colorism that I experienced from Black men, or if it wasn't the colorism thing, it was like the being sexualized, and all that particular stuff that was going on. I didn't really feel respected or loved throughout my years of childhood. Not until I got older, and now things are different. But what I do notice though is that I wonder for Black men, the traumas that they've been through, if they're projecting that on like all the Black women that they run into, or just things you see these Black women, that's all they're about, that's who they are, versus kind of understanding like, wait a minute, I might have some internalized things too that I'm working through. And am I experiencing a cognitive distortion in how I then label how I see all Black women or something? So
yeah, I can definitely agree on that. But you kept sticking to something. How was your relationship with your father?
oh, it's cool. My dad is my hero.
Mm-hmm.
My dad didn't have his father.
Okay.
He passed away or was murdered like some years when he got older, like when around like I don't know what age, but like after his like teen years. But he wasn't very present. I honor my dad so much because there is not a day I didn't know where he was. My dad was there for my family every single day. And my dad taught me so much about what it means to be a young lady, what it means to be a woman, how to carry myself, along with my mother. So I honor him greatly for what he's done for me and my sisters.
So how old are you when you lost your father?
No, I didn't lose my father. I'm saying my dad, he lost his father. Like,
oh, he lost his father. Okay,
so
okay.
My grandfather didn't raise my dad.
Okay,
My
okay.
dad
Gotcha.
made sure that he raised me and my sisters, and he was there every single day, teaching me what it means to be a woman, how to respect, honor myself, along with my mother.
Well, the question I about your relationship with your father is that your father is going to be the first man in your life, right? And he's going to have the most impact. So, like growing up, did your father like reassure you that you were beautiful, that you was just a great, girl, young lady, a great woman? Did he always like give you a lot of affirmations? Because I understand as a father, that's important for us to tell our daughters that, look, you better than this, or you don't need to be with that guy because look at you, look at him. Like it's just certain things we do as fathers. Like, did he ever do that with you? Because to hear you saying about colorism, and then you say about your father. So like, did he do that sort of thing with you?
No, my dad, it's funny with my family because all my sisters were different complexions. I have a sister that's very fair complected. I'm more brown skin, and then there's different hues, but no, there wasn't any colorism in my family. My dad wasn't a lovey-dovey. He has Marine background. He was a correctional officer. He wasn't that kind of lovey-dovey, but he was big on lessons. And he was big on teaching us. I'm grateful for that. I'm talking about more like in school. So I grew up near a Navy Army base, and I grew up around majority non-Black kids. But when you're a Black kid in like in that kind of environment, it's like there's Black and then there's everybody else. And we were very much treated that way. Stereotypically in schools, a lot of the Black boys were like athletes. Like a lot of them played football, basketball, did whatever. And there was very few of them. So I would say, I can't remember in my class we were like a 4A. So maybe there was like maybe 20 Black kids, maybe in the class. But it was very evident that the Black boys did not talk to Black girls. And I'm not just saying that like in a personal way, like, because even like from biracial to light skin, dark skin, we were very treated like other, and it was very known. I've actually revisited this like now in my later 30s, talking to some friends from high school, and one of my homeboys from school actually apologized to me. And now that he's grown older, and he's like, I'm really sorry about how the way me and other guys really treated y'all. And now that I'm older and I have a better understanding of who I am as a man and like my race, my ethnic pride, cultural self-esteem, I'm just apologizing for the way, literally in the hallways, it would be like, we don't date Black girls. You're too dark. You're too this. Look at your hair. Ha ha, you ghetto. And they fed into a lot. And that was very traumatic for me.
It is. It is. I'm with you 100%.
And then I used to,
I was going to actually agree with you. I mean, because I was called some of the worst names about my skin color has been called by Black people. I've been called Blackie. I've been called Dark as Night. I've been saying the only thing they see with you is just your eyes and your teeth. And I've said all kind of things to me about my skin tone. Hell, I was growing up during the time where the light skinned brothers were in, like Al B. Sure and DeBarge and all Prince and all that. So it was bad to be dark skinned at one point in time. That time in history. But what I'm saying is, as Black people in America, we all gonna deal with. Of course, I know women deal with it a little different than others, but he apologized. He realized that was wrong. He was being a silly kid, obviously, in the effects of racism and that in America. But let me ask you a question: has any man like loved you, Black man, ever loved you and wanted to marry you?
I haven't been in a position where I've been engaged or been in that space. There's been individuals or I've been in a situation where somebody did love me. Yeah.
Did they want to marry you?
We didn't get to that point. No.
So no man is ever saying, "Oh, Antoinette, I really would like to marry you." They never said that to you?
I haven't been engaged, but someone has expressed that to me before.
How many people? 1, 2? How many?
I mean, that's kind of personal. But
well, I'm not asking for their names. I'm just asking a question. It's a reason why I'm asking that question.
At my age, there's been situations in which that's been presented. Not a whole bunch, though.
Mm-hmm. Okay, because you guys understand, when people watch this, they hear you say you're 37, no kids, and you're not married. So you're like, okay, why? They're gonna say why, and that's why I asked a question. Where has any men loved you and say, "Oh, Antoinette, I really would like to marry you," and I always say this, that there are many men over the years that will want to marry a lot of these sisters, and for whatever reason, I don't know the particular reason, turn them down. But then later on, they get closer to 40 and up, and like, "Oh, hey, now I'm ready." I'm like, well, what happened maybe in the 20s?
I agree. Yeah, I agree that there's stigma about like my age and not having kids, which is cross-cultural, but I'm gonna speak just for our community. And then what happens is that it becomes the stereotypes of like, oh, well, you were probably, I'm gonna get a little loose, busting it wide open in these streets. And now you want to be married. And now that you've done whatever you were doing. And that's not the case for me. It's quite the opposite.
Okay. So if you was to meet a guy today, that means you would have to get married pretty quick, and you would have to start having some children.
I drink water. I eat my vegetables. I see the doctor.
Good.
I exercise, and
you should.
And God, so be it. If I meet a man, and hopefully, I've thought about it. Right? Like, okay, would I want more than one child? Would I want to adopt? What does that look like for me?
Let me ask you a question. What the options are? Would you be open to dating a single father?
I've dated a single father before, so I'm open to it.
Marrying a single father, just in case. Let's say if the guy, you may want kids, but let's say if he like, yeah, I'm cool with it, or if he like, hey, if I don't have a kid, we don't have a kid, I'm good. I'm just saying, like, just trying to figure out what your options are, because it may be some guys watching. They were like, man, I would like to talk to Antoinette. I'm here in Texas. You never know.
No, I'm open. I'm more about the character and the heart of the person and what they're about. Are we compatible? And compatibility is not just financial stuff, like the whole bus driver conversation that was like all over the internet. For me, it's more about the heart and the internal wellness of a person, and we're compatible. I'm about it.
That's good. So how much he make a year matter to you?
I don't really make all the money in the world. So it's not so much about what he makes. It's really about his aspirations, because I have some really great aspirations, and I hope that they're compatible. Like, I want to travel. I want to, and maybe travel for recreation. That's cool. But I see myself doing macro social work, going to parts of the communities, making change and all that. So he doesn't have to have all the money in the world, but do we align in that way? Because if I'm wanting to go to parts of Africa, different parts of the world, and like be of change, and he's like, nah, I'm good here in Texas, and I'm not really trying to do all that, but I make a lot of money, then I'd be like, even though you make a lot of money, spiritually, I don't know if we're compatible, emotionally, psychologically, because there's things that I want to do, and I would love him like as a person, but I would be like, I don't think we're called to be with each other in that way.
Yeah. So basically, you need a man. So basically, one of the requirements for you is you need to have a U.S. passport, or actively getting one.
I have my passport.
No, I'm talking about the man.
Oh, yeah.
In other words, you want to travel. You don't want to just sit around in Texas.
Well, for me, the calling that I believe that's on my life, yeah, that's what.
Yeah, listen, it's nothing wrong with that. Listen,
I
I
didn't say there
believe
was.
men who travel, from my experience, they are more well-rounded. So yeah, a man that travels, that's great. I mean, the average man in America, or at least black man, makes what, about $42,000 a year. So if he at least makes that, he's good.
If this man is an honest man, he loves me, he cares about me, he's not abusive.
Yeah.
All those things, then so be it. So be it.
Okay. As long as he that type of man that's trying to, not only he work his career, but he's trying to work towards something and even trying to build with you. That's what you're looking for.
There's mental health, there's emotional health, there's spiritual health, there's physical health. Are we compatible? Really, it's really about being compatible for me. Like, and yeah, I mean, I've known men who make a lot of money, but we were not compatible internally. And internally, notice physical to me is like not even something, because if I'm physically attracted to somebody, I am, right? But really, who are you inside? So that's what I'm focused on.
Okay. All right. That's good. But see, at the same time, is you talking about the type of man that you're trying to match with. That's why I say you want to always separate yourself from the Sukianas and the Megan Thee Stallions and that crowd, right? Because you're looking for that kind of man. And that's why I say it's important for you ladies to separate yourself, because even in the scriptures that teach for you to separate yourself from those who do things that are evil against the Lord. Even if so, the scriptures teach you that, to separate yourself. Even every religion teach that. Basically, you are separating yourself from doing the things that's wrong. So if every major religion, God himself wants you to separate, then it's okay to separate and say, okay, let me get with like-minded men and women within the community, or whoever else I'm gonna get with, right? And just do our thing. But listen, it's like this. You say calling them out or whatever. There are scriptures that teach that God chastised those he loved. Do you understand that?
There's nothing wrong with chastisement.
Glad you said it.
Listen, I grew up with a Marine father.
Okay, glad you just said that. My dad
didn't sugarcoat anything. But
good. I'm glad you said that. So when you hear, so Antoinette, so when you hear me going in on them, I'm chastising them because I love them. That's why.
You think somebody, and I'm not questioning your love, because honestly, I do respect you. And I really, when I'm getting ready for work, when I'm driving home, I be on the Stairmaster listening to you, and I listen to you and other contributors too. And I really enjoy the stories. I have difficulty in my space, in my heart, right, to call somebody out of their name, or to read the kind of threads that I'm reading and imagining that Black men, I don't want to group all Black men, I'm talking about the particular ones that I see, going in and saying the type of things they're saying and be like, but I love them though. Then to me, there's something going on with the intervention, and there's something going on with our cultural self-esteem, because I've lived around Latinos all my life, and there's problems in the Latino community. I don't see Latino men going online, and maybe I'm missing something, and saying, yeah, these women and these particular, calling them garden tools.
Wait. You Latino men don't say nothing about they women?
I didn't say that. That's 100% like not happening at all.
Okay, I want to make sure about that.
But what I'm saying is that I don't see it in the way that our community, to the point where I have friends from other communities that are like, girl, and we're friends and we're looking at this together, right? And I look at it on my own. I don't see any other community of people talking about their women in that way.
Since you want to go there, let's go. Do Arab women, are they out there twerking on top of Mina Castle?
I don't want to.
I'm just asking a question. What is the?
Because I can go on Instagram right now and see a lot of different women doing a lot of different things.
I'm talking about a good society, a good portion. I'm sure you can find the exceptions to the rule all day long. I'm talking about every time you look up, let's talk about the twerking thing, right? Or something, just you dress in certain ways. You look at, we talking about it being accepted as a cultural norm. Like, do you see Arab women doing that constantly on video?
Do I see Arab men calling their women B's and H's?
No. You know why they're not doing it?
Why aren't they doing it?
One, Islam, they can't do that. Two, hold on, I'm gonna go there. Two, you can talk about black folks who are Islamic, so we can go there too. Two, following Islam, you got to respect your woman, provide for your woman, XYZ. At the same time, she has to be at walk basically in her femininity and be at that stay home, take care of the kids or whatever. Basically, the traditional family is king in Islamic families, whether they black or even Arab, right? Like, what do you see? That's talking to black people. When have you seen a Nation of Islam sister out here twerking somewhere?
I get that there are different women doing different things.
And that's black women I'm talking about right now. I'm talking about black women in the Nation of Islam. I've never seen them do that. Let me tell you something. The most respectful black women I've ever seen in my life is Nation of Islam black women. The most respectful.
I think they're onto something. And I think that black men and women that were not part of that can observe and learn a lot from that. But just like we don't see, like, okay, you're talking about like women in other cultures, but I don't hear now, maybe some Latin music we can kind of say there's a little raunchy a little bit or whatever other, but like the mainstream, I don't see the type of name calling or sexual exploitation.
Oh, you're talking about the music?
I'm talking about music.
The music is horrible. The music is horrible. Look, I'm with you. The male and the female. Today, look, you go back to what, like, listen, what they talk about today, they make Luther Campbell sound like a choir boy. What they talk about today. And this is the bad part. It is the women rappers that's worse with it now than even the guys.
I think men are offended seeing women do that, but men been doing that for a long time. And we just have to sit here and be quiet. So now these daughters are doing the same thing.
I grew up in that age of the 80s and 90s of hip hop, right? Yeah, they call women the B word and all that, but being so descriptive, like sexually descriptive, and the things these women are promoting, and then they come across like men. It's like they talk like men, they get their deep voices like men. But at the end of the day, the record labels who own it isn't looking like me and you. Let's call it what it is.
It goes
because they don't allow that kind of music in other cultures. You know what I'm saying? So it goes back to this. If we don't like to see that, then we, as people who wants to see that change, need to attack very aggressively that behavior to correct it within our own community.
Calling people names is not going to solve that type of situation then.
Sure it is. It's called shaming. It's called shaming. We lost that in the black community.
In the long run?
It will work in the long run. Shaming has a great work. Shame is beautiful. Shame is beautiful. Trust me. See, the problem is that we have lost collective shame in the black community. But shaming, let me give you an example. Shaming is something like what they call today cancel culture to a point. I know some of it's stupid, but some of it is basically public shaming. Usually you can correct companies through public shaming. You can make them change rules. You can make them pay out lawsuits. You can make them do so many. How many times have black people as a collective have went out and shamed the corporation for being discriminatory? We called them out for who they were. Racist, discriminatory. We went in on them on the internet, Twitter, everywhere we went in on them, and they changed their particular policies. They hired black people like just because they're trying to get us off their back. I mean, collective shame works. So if it works on these corporations who's not even part of our community, how come you feel collective shaming won't work on Sukiyana?
Are we shaming the people who own these record labels and saying, hey, don't be doing this to our daughters and our sons? Are we shaming them?
No, we're not shaming them. We need to get to our family. Hold on. We need to get to the people in our community we got close access to. Listen, the record labels will be done overnight if the people in our community would not be participating in it, because these people ain't forcing them to. So if we could correct Sukiyana, and we can correct Lil Durk and anybody else out there who's putting out filth and degeneracy, and we can get them you can keep rapping, but just stop doing that. Stop talking down on the men and women. Stop talking about using drugs. Stop promoting harlotry. Stop doing all that. You can keep rapping. Let's say they turn that around overnight. It's easier to get to them than these record label execs who are not even in our community. A lot of times we don't even know who they are. So we're going to talk to them about stop doing it versus getting to the people in our own community and tell them stop doing it. Where they getting the talent from?
So I've been kind of with this conversation too. I've been thinking about trauma.
Say amen, Antoinette. Just say amen. You had to concede, sister. You know I'm right.
You know, as you were talking, I was thinking about a lot about what you were saying, and my mind went to trauma. And I wanted to ask you a question.
Go ahead.
So, okay, so PTSD, right? Post-traumatic stress disorder. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, I'm also familiar with post-traumatic slave disorder too.
Yes, and post-traumatic slave, the way that Dr. Joy DeGruy puts it is post-traumatic slave syndrome. And then there's generational traumas, which kind of go into both of them. Do you think as a people, whether we're looking at individuals, we're looking at our community, or we're looking at us as a global family, do you think we've gone through mass community, individual trauma?
Yes.
People who have been in trauma or experienced trauma, what are some of the behaviors? What are some of the things
it can go on either spectrum of the pendulum. It could go, well, you know what? I'm not going to repeat this behavior. I'm going to be better than this. I don't want my family to experience that, which that would be me. Or there may be some people that just say, you know what? I'm going to just embrace this degeneracy and I'm going to just do it and just repeat the cycle. It's all basically on the individual. We all got a choice in life. No matter what we went through in life, we all have a choice to either be better or just to go down the path of destruction.
Yeah, I agree with you. It is something that I think that people have to have insight about to know, like, wait a minute, this is generational trauma. Just because, you know, my great grandma abused us verbally, physically, whatever, it doesn't mean that my grandmother or my mother or whatever down the line need to do that. Right. But I think with these kind of conversations and the way that we talk to each other and treat each other in the midst of the mass trauma that we're healing from, we need to be very careful about how we talk to each other, how we treat each other in this healing process, because I think on the surface, calling out behaviors is important. Now, I think there is a verbal abuse element in that when we're shaming people. I think that's abusive, in my opinion. Shame and correction are two different things, in my opinion. But I think for us as a people, we really need to be more solution focused and really kind of look deeper about what's really going on with us, you know, as individuals, as a community, and as a global family. And I think the way that we're doing it and what I've been witnessing lately in these threads, I don't think it's productive. I don't think it's productive what we're doing.
Well, piece of advice: stay out the threads, stay out the comment sections, because I don't even read my own comments sometimes. Because, you know, some people are so toxic. Listen, some people, that's the only way they can express themselves, because they can't go to work talking like that. They can't go nowhere talking like that. So they go on the internet where they feel like they're anonymous and say all kind of crap. You know, now when you get on these platforms like this, we're showing your face, you take a risk. You take a big risk doing that. So you better be careful on what you're saying. Like I was told a long time ago, whatever you're saying, just make sure that you okay with it being put on the front page of the Houston Chronicle. And then I said, oh, yeah, that's a good thought. You say, yeah. So this is why, you know, of course, like I said, I have daughters and stuff like that. So there's certain language I won't use. You will not hear me calling women B words and no, I won't do that. Or just being really degrading to women or even men. I'm not gonna be degrading to men because, you know, like I said, I have people working with me as women and men. And if I get out of line for whatever reason, those women and men can check me behind the scenes. I tell all my people on my team, the women and the men, hey, if you think I'm doing something wrong, holler at me. I'm not right for everything I do. But the method to my madness is I'm old school, and the old school worked. This new age stuff that's going on today don't work at all. Men have gotten to the point they are boycotting marriage. The marriage industry is tanking. Bridal stores are closing because of this, because men are the gatekeepers of marriage. So since men are boycotting marriage for many, many reasons, maybe we need to go back to the old school. So that's why I preach more of the old school mindset. So everything I come from or my position is going to be old school.
I feel you. Can I ask you one question real quick when it comes to kind of the traditional roles? Every time I go to the grocery store, I'm like, dang, man, how much am I going to spend today? You know, and I
Mm-hmm.
think about kind of like what it means to have a single income, because I have a single income, right?
Okay.
So I was talking to a friend the other night, and we're talking about traditional values
Uh-huh.
versus like roles. And I'm just going to kind of share about how I grew up. So my mom and my dad, my mom actually is getting her doctorate degree. Like she's working on her dissertation. She's doing all that. My dad is a high school graduate. He has a Marine background, correctional officer, all that stuff. In our household, because I think this is a problem too, that a lot of Black women are educated. And so then, and this is a careful thing for Black women not to, and Black men are educated too and doing their thing too, but sometimes we get a little haughty, a little like, well, I got this degree now, I need to make blah,
Mm-hmm.
blah, 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 blah,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then
Mm-hmm.
Black men who have been, you know, because we're all kind of experiencing this trauma of the system in various ways, right? So I think there needs to be more empathy and compassion and team building and all that. But what I loved about my family is that when my mom sat down, she needed a plate of food or something, my dad cooked, brought her food. When my dad was sitting down, they brought each other food. They both cleaned, they both cooked, they both supported the family, they both paid bills. If there was a problem in the household, it was a rule. Like if my dad said no, it was no. So say like, you know, some people kind of split their parent and be like, well, one parent said no, I'm gonna go over here and do. It was like if one parent said no, they're in union, right? And so I've
Mm-hmm.
always wanted that, like in a marriage, to be able to work together as a team. But the thing is, we honored my dad as the man, as the protector, as the leader of our family. You know,
Right.
and I think that is a very important thing. But the thing is, when I look at my dad, I'm like, well, he had those qualities though. You know, he led, he protected, he don't abuse my mom, he not out here in these streets, you know, and he did what he was supposed to do to make sure that we were all safe and all that. And so
Mm-hmm.
when I think about traditional family in contemporary times, I do hear kind of some things in the threads where it's like, you know, well, she needs to be, you know, stay at home. And I do. So I'm trying to get more understanding in 2023 about what that means to many of the Black men that you probably have talked to about
Okay.
traditional family values and all that.
Okay. Well, this is what I preach, and some men are totally against what I say, but I'm going to say this because this is what I've practiced and I've lived my life and etc. So I believe a man should have to be to pay all the bills in his household. That means pay the car notes, pay the rent or the mortgage, pay the lights, the cell phones, etc. A woman should be able to work if she so choose to work, right? But a man doesn't need her to work. Now, if children come along, I don't believe children should be in daycare like that. I think they should at least be at home with their mother. If you want to go back to work, okay, well, at least let them go to kindergarten where they in school all day, but don't be at the job past the time the child got out of school, so the children won't be by themselves. At least, right? Um, I believe you could support your wife if she has a dream, if she want to open up a business. Talk about myself. So my wife, she was working at a hospital for a while when she got pregnant with my little girl, and but she was starting to make cakes at the time. And I say, oh boy, you pretty good at this, you know? And so when she was about to have my little girl, I say, look, I don't want you going back to work. I want you to just focus on building your cake business. And so I say, I'm willing to invest whatever you want me to pay for. I'll do it, but I'd rather you stay home and then do this, right? So you fast forward from that at that time period to today, and it was one of the best things ever. And she's so happy with having her own business. So I don't hold my wife back from shining or whatever. Sometimes, you know, like I said, she's doing different things with the business. And yeah, I got to get my little girl something to eat, or my daughters around here, they'll cook something or whatever. My grown daughters, at least, they'll cook something. So it's, you know, every family is different. It's no blueprint to each family. But like you said, but when I say something, it's respected. The leadership of the family, I'm the leader of the family. Okay. My wife doesn't disrespect me. She doesn't do anything like that. And I make sure to always respect her and honor her. And I listen to what she say, you know, on like different input and things like that. But at the end, you know, is always come back on me or everything because I'm the leader in the household. And a lot of men aren't used to being leaders. Like your father, he sounded like he was a leader of the household. But a lot of times when you have competing factions, you got to be one leader. Anything with two heads is a freak. So either one gonna lead and the other gonna be the help me. That's just really how it has to be.
Women are in a tough situation. I'm not saying that our situations, one's above the other, because I'm looking at this as a unit thing, because you said something. You said that a lot of men don't know how to be a leader. I'm grateful to hear
a lot of them don't agree with me because some feel that women should pay bills. And I said, matter of fact, I just did a video that's going to be uploaded, me repeating this. If you are depending on your woman to pay half the bills, then you don't get a traditional woman to treat you a certain way, because traditional women didn't have to go out and pay bills.
I'm curious to know what percentage, and this is not an insult or a grouping. I need to do the research of what that percentage looks like in our community. What the type of traumas. I'm not even going to talk about character, but the type of traumas that were faced, the incarceration, all the different kind of things that we've faced as a community. Are Black men, many are, because I've seen it, but the majority are in that position. So women, we can't really. I was joking with one of my friends.
Well, how you gonna say a majority, Antoinette, and you don't have the data?
What I'm saying is, I don't have the data, but I've studied in social work. We study a lot of this stuff, and I'm not saying I'm right or wrong with this. So I know on this channel I need to be very careful, and really just generally speaking about how I present this information. But I'm wondering, as far as percentage, what that looks like in our community, because I feel like, I was joking with a friend. I was saying, I'm tired of being a strong, independent woman. I need it. Really the term is interdependent, not independent, by the way. But I just wonder what that looks like, because what you're saying, it sounds very nice, but is it feasible in our community that has been through so much mass trauma?
Antoinette, it doesn't matter about community. All you have to do is find one man that thinks like that and moves like that.
One woman together. I'm talking
about
it.
No, because see, sometimes when people say, "Oh, the community," it don't matter about community. All you have to do is be in a position to be found, and you have that one man find you. It don't matter what 1,000 people doing. You need to have that one man, because that's all you care about anyway, is that one man.
Whether I get married or not, that's another thing. But really, I'm talking about community. That's my angle. Is as a community, we're talking about, the roles and providing and all of that. With everything that we've been through, what is the percentage, I'm curious, of men that are in that position to really lead, protect, and provide in that way? And if they are able to, that's great. But what kind of therapy, what kind of healing was put in place? Because many of us didn't have a father, 2-parent home. Many of us saw a lot of community violence, a lot of domestic violence. Not saying all of us. How did the men heal in our community, and women too, heal in our community to be able to be in that role? And who taught them leadership? How was that translated down into them? That's what I'm curious about. It's not really.
As men, we don't have time to be worrying about feelings. We got things to do. That's first and foremost. We figured out along the way. So that's the difference between men and women. We just don't have that kind of time. We don't function in feelings. We just don't. Men go through a lot of traumas in life. Are you gonna sit up there and focus on it all day? Or are you gonna get yourself up like a man and make something work out here? That's really what a lot of it is.
There's psychological health, there's mental health, and traumas cause a lot of ripples in mental health.
I agree. So
many of us have been through those things, and
I agree with you. But I'm telling you, as a man, you don't got time to be worrying with all that. You got to be maybe when you get a woman and she help you figure that out or whatever. Maybe a lot of times men talk about counseling and all that. Men usually don't do that sort of thing until they get with a woman that could peer into that. But just the average everyday man, we trying to get it out the mud. We trying to provide. We trying to do what we got to do as men, and we figure out along the way. I'm just telling you how men is.
I personally think that is something that we got to really pay attention to, because, and this is a cross-cultural thing, but really in our community, we're facing a type of trauma that I don't think many people understand. And we have a unique situation in this world, and we're just saying, hey, I ain't worried about that. I'm just trying to do this or that. Then what happens is that we're repeating generational traumas, abuse, different things, mentalities, cognitive distortions, all the different healing that we need to do, thinking
I get Antoinette. I get it. Trust me. I'm with you. I agree with you. Trust me. I've been doing this for a long time. I see the problems with Black people globally. Actually, I see the problems, but a man got to get himself up, and he got to keep the lights on. He can get his healing time when he need to get it. A man need to put food on the table. If he got kids, he need to take care of those kids. He need to do what he has to do as a man. Not and when you get certain amounts of money, then you can actually afford certain types of therapy at that point. But if you don't even have no money as a man, how can you even go get the therapy that you need with a great doctor?
I get that. I'm not saying that.
Are you talking about physical health? Do you realize that men that make more money live longer because they can go to the doctor more? They can actually go to a certain type of gyms. They can go places like Whole Foods or Sprouts or whatever and eat better. That goes along with physical health. When you live a lot better, and not in horrible environments where you're about crime, etc. You could take vacations to lower your stress level, because stress affects everybody, right? So for men, we have to make certain amounts of money even to deal with all those things that you're talking about. So we got to get to the bag as men.
The men who are making money, are they going into the community and bringing awareness about this particular healing that's being mentioned? Are they leading the community in that way?
Probably not. And it's not, but it's not their job to.
Whose job is it to go into the Black community and do these things?
The fathers of those children, the fathers of those children, is their job. If a man chooses to do it or a group chooses to do it, great. And that's their passion. But I'm not going to tell just a brother on the street, well, since you made it, you go back and do this. I would say, why don't you create an opportunity, like create jobs for people in the communities, or create schools for our children where they can get education and expand. That's what I would say. I'm not telling you go and do nothing. Create opportunities for our people. That's the only thing I'm saying. Or if you find a brother or sister who doing good in the business, but they need some capital, okay, see if you can inject some capital into their business and help them grow. But you say your stipulation is you got to hire so many people and keep them employed too, on top of this, and create our own jobs in our community. That's what I would say would be more feasible than just going and do some after school special in the community. I'm talking about feeding ourselves and taking care of ourselves and replicating educated kids and educating our men, educating our women, keeping them out the clutches of the prison system. That's different things that could be done in our community. You know, that after school special stuff, like I say, it doesn't produce anything.
It's all important, but not just after school stuff, which would be great, by the way. It's more the mental health component in this if we're going to heal as a community. And I think that the type of traumas that we've been through, just to me, it's a mental health issue when we can go on platforms. I know we already covered this, and say the things that we're saying. To me, or in music, if we can call women who look like us certain type of things, or the kind of I'll call out women too, the way the women are presenting themselves. Really, it's not who men against women. We are a unit and community that we all need to look at each other and be like, what is going on here?
Yeah, well, based on what you're saying, I've heard women in my lifetime call other women the B word way more than I've heard men call them that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the interesting part. Y'all call each other that all the time, but if a man said, "Oh my God," there's
probably 8 ways of using it, but I don't participate in that term.
That's how some people feel about the N word too. Well, it depends on how you say it. Me, I don't want to say it around me at all. I don't want no variation of it because my people went through a lot of stuff to fought and died not to be called that. So I don't even allow it. I don't allow it on my platform. Don't work with me using that term. I think it's very ignorant. Especially our history. So, and the same thing about the B word, you couldn't work with me calling other women that. I'm like, we don't do that here, so yeah, but Antoinette, like I said, definitely, if you want people maybe to contact you, maybe you got an Instagram or maybe email something. Maybe people could want to ask you questions. Maybe one of these guys that just say, "Oh Lord, I want to marry her." Yeah, give them your contact information.
So I do have an Instagram. It's Antweezy_86. It's ANTWEEZY_86. And really, my Facebook, I'll leave it private and all that. But yeah, if you want to reach me on Instagram, that's fine.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it was great talking to Antoinette here. If you have any questions about anything that she says, not me, you can contact her on Instagram. And if you're interested in having a conversation with me, you can go to our Facebook page, send me a message. Of course, I'm gonna look through your page first and kind of see what I get. I'm not gonna talk to everybody, but hey, if you're interested, even if you don't agree with me, you're welcome to come on. So Antoinette, thank you for joining us today, and greatly appreciate the conversation.
Thank you. I feel this is my first time articulating something like this online in this way. And I feel like a baby social worker and a lifespan of things that I want to do. So I hope that it made sense to everybody. So, yeah.